Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine18 Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. This is part one of my recap of January 2023. For this month, I've decided to split the recap into two and share the books I've read in January in a different video. I think that this month, if I didn't do this, it might end up being an even longer and even ramblier video than even I think is reasonable, which says something. So I'm going to upload in two parts so that folks who are interested in the books can watch that part and folks who are not interested in the books don't have to. I didn't want to end up with a 2-hour recap. And I feel like, not necessarily that I read the most books ever this month, but quite a few of them I have quite a bit to say about. So I wanted to leave space for that while also not making my recap video even more ridiculous than it usually is. So in this one, I will be sharing general life updates. I don't really have very many of those. The decks that I've received this month. I'll mention a couple of other decks that I've worked with this month that were not new to me this month, but that I used a lot. I will mention a little bit of plans for February, and I want to show a little bit of my planners, particularly my page a day book and how that's going, and my wish list or decks to explore list that I've shared in a previous video as something I was doing in my planner. I'll kind of check in and see what that's looking like. And then the books I will leave to another video, which I'll upload shortly. So general life updates is not too much. Right now it's early February, and I guess this is more of a February update than a January update, but I am speaking to you from my first ever day of vacation. My new job has vacation days, and I've never had this before. I, have generally worked contract positions that do not involve having any kind of paid time off of any sort. And so this is very new and strange to me. There's an aspect of almost culture shock, to be honest, going from really kind of precarious employment, cobbling together a living from a whole bunch of contracts, to one kind of full-time position that has some paid vacation days every year beyond kind of the stat holidays that everybody gets is interesting and exciting and new. So I spent the morning cleaning, and now I'm going to spend the afternoon relaxing. And relaxing in a totally guilt-free, joyful way. I'm not used to, in some ways, still, the fact that now I work in a job that I'm not expected in any way. In fact, I'm really not supposed to be kind of on all the time. Coming out of both working as an academic and a professor, and my union job, which is very part-time, which I still have, there is kind of a sense that, outside of any kind of regularly scheduled time that you have, that you're also, doing all kinds of work on your own time. You're also checking emails all the time. Whereas my day job now is just that. Like it is done when my work day is done. And that's pretty awesome too. So I have 3 weekdays off, Thursday, Friday, and Monday, where I don't really have to do anything, and that's really fucking blissful. And I am so happy. I'm planning on spending it with a mix of getting some things done around the house and then just kind of relaxing and doing some things that I want to do that are not chore like, so that's fun. The one other life update I'll share, since I mentioned it on Instagram, where I basically never post, and I'm considering deleting yet again, is that I wanted to share that Daryl is dealing with an injury right now. We've been told after an x-ray that it seems to be his ACL, so his knee, and that he also has some arthritis as well. So we're just trying to baby him, keep him from jumping and climbing as much as we can, and hope that he recovers from that. Right now, where we're at too is that we're waiting the vet sent an x-ray to a surgeon to get an opinion on whether they think Daryl needs knee surgery. I want to be very clear. I am not interested in any unsolicited advice about this. And any advice about this is unsolicited, just to be very clear. But right now we're thinking that, regardless of what the surgeon's advice is, that we're not going to do that. Daryl's 14, and I feel like the recovery time and that would be really difficult on him and would be really painful. And right now he's limping, but other than the limp, he seems pretty okay. He still wants to play. He still wants to climb the stairs, even though we've certainly told him no. I'm borrowing a baby gate from a friend to address that issue. And he's still, seems in pretty good spirits. He's just, not putting weight on his legs. So I think that the plan is going to be that we're going to baby it for a while in terms of, letting it heal with the least disruption as possible, as well as some dietary changes for Daryl, who's a very big cat. And then, that's where I think we're going to leave that. We're also we just started Daryl on a monthly arthritis medication that helps to manage pain with arthritis. So I'm hoping that with all of those things that Daryl will be, just fine for now. But it's been a pretty stressful end of the month dealing with all of this. I find dealing with the veterinarian to be very stressful. And of course, like any of you all who have, furry or feathered, or otherwise kinds of animal family members know that just seeing them in any kind of discomfort is really affecting. And they can't tell you, what's going on. They can't tell you how they're feeling. Cats in particular are notorious for hiding their discomfort and trying to hide their discomfort as best they can. So I don't take the fact that Daryl is not wailing to mean that he's in no discomfort, right? Because cats do try not to show that. So that's just been really hard. And there's been lots of kind of, shortages of sleep and worrying about Daryl and trying to figure out what the best thing to do is. And of course, with a pet, you're responsible for somebody else's well-being, right? And making the decisions that they aren't going to make for themselves. So that's been stressful, but he is doing pretty okay. I want to, thank folks who sent Daryl well wishes. I read Daryl the well wishes. He thoroughly enjoyed them, and I appreciate it. So that's the life updates. It's not really resolved right now, but he seems to be a little bit improving since the injury occurred. It's still very early days. My sister's cat had a limp for a while, and it took her cat 6 or 7 weeks to start walking anything like normally. It was a different injury, but these things take a lot of time for cats. So we'll see how it goes. We've made him a comforter nest in the living room. So he is, being well taken care of, and I hope that he's better soon. Those are my life updates. Other than that, January's just been work, which is great, and all, the usual things, I guess, that I'm doing. I really enjoyed making my first tree explorations video, so if you haven't seen it so far, check that out. I felt a little bit like it would be a little bit of a dud, I wasn't super happy with that video, and I appreciate the kind comments on it. I really, really love spending time outside, and this time of year is really, really hard for me, emotionally, spiritually, physically. My chronic pain is really bad right now, and not being able to film the whole video outside had me really down and questioning whether to even bother with it, to be honest. But I'm glad I did, and I'm hoping that this month, it will be a little bit more outside time. So we'll see. It was a good start though. And I'm excited to share more of my kind of photography and camera adventures on this channel. I've been thinking about maybe, now that I have a camera that is not, this laptop that's easier to take places, I was thinking of maybe doing a reading vlog. I don't know if that would be interesting, for February. We'll see. I also will hopefully film, some birding adventures. We'll see. Lots of exciting things. So, decks that I have received this month. I've received 3 decks this month, 2 of which I purchased this month and that also arrived in January, and then one of which I actually purchased in December that didn't arrive until January. So, one of them you've already seen, but I will share the 3 decks that I received in January, which I'm very excited about. And 2 of them are my most used decks for January. The 3rd just came. So I'm excited. The first deck, and this is the one that I bought in December, that came very, very early January, the Iami Oracle. And I know that there are many beautiful walkthroughs of this deck, reviews of this deck. So I got this one at the end of December, and I'm really happy that I did. By Aminat Oladipo, and there's this beautiful guidebook, and the guidebook is full color. You can see here, with a lot of content, and it is beautiful. Again, I'm not going to do I'm not going to do any kind of walkthrough because I know there are a number of them. But when I saw this deck, I was blown away seeing it in videos and then again in person. This is the back of just how beautiful this art is. And it's very cohesive. It is actually a collaborative deck with multiple artists, each doing different cards. And I've really been appreciating, so far there have been 2 video chats here on YouTube between Aminat, the creator, and Queen Aset of Oya's Girl. And I know that there's going to be more. And knowing that there were going to be more of those chats, a little bit nudged me over the edge to getting this deck, if I'm honest. I was really excited about that opportunity, we'll say, to participate in those live chats. I got to go to one live and then I watched one back. The first one I couldn't go to live, but I've really been enjoying this deck. And I've looked at this deck almost every day of the month. And as I'm getting to know this deck, I also have been reading, it's not done, so it's not one of the books that I'm going to talk about in my book recap because I'm still in the middle of it, but I did start reading this handbook of Yoruba religious concepts, since that is the context of this deck. And, while the deck does come with a substantive guidebook, I definitely wanted to be reading more, to be learning more, and this book has been really good for that. I'm about, my big notes. I'm on page 73 of the book out of 130 something. The book has just been, the part that I was just reading is talking about the different Orisha and different kind of correspondences so that they have, so different herbs, for example, different colors, numbers. So that's kind of where I am in the book, if you're familiar with this book. Really, really informative and well written, and I'm learning a ton. So this has been really good. I will mention that book more when I finish the book, so it won't be in my recap. The deck that you all know that I got in January is Le Tarot Souverain, which is by Emmanuel Fontaine, eco-feminist and non-binary tarot deck, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I made a video of it. You all know I love it. This is my style, 100%. I love the, the medium. I love the color coding of the suits. I love how contemporary it is. I love its politic. I love its personality. I'm really into this. So, I've been using this deck lots as well. These are the two decks, the EME Oracle and this one, that I've kind of been most interested in working with this month for sure. And the third deck that I got this month, this one just arrived, so it's still in order. I've looked through it, but I haven't shuffled it or anything like that. This is a Bee from iCali Sunflower Made Me Do It deck, because I saw Bee's video about this deck, and then I couldn't resist when I saw it, and so I thought about it for about a week, and then of course I clicked to put it in my shopping cart, and that is Into the Void, the Black Cat Tarot, which has arrived when my black cat is not at his best, and I'm happy to have it. And I know that Bee has a black cat too, and this is just, look at these little black cats, and it has this matte yellow edging, which is wonderful. And I just really like the personalities of this cat deck. I have a few cat decks, but not a ton of them considering I'm such a cat person. I have two. The Considerate Cat Tarot, which is, very pastel and very realistic cats. And then I have Page of Cats, which is photos of cats. So this one is very different from either of the cat decks that I have. And then I guess, Tarot of the Cat People is kind of halfway to a cat deck, but not really. And I'm so happy. This is gonna be a hug deck for me, I think. And of course they remind me of Daryl. How could they not? Some of them really feel like they have a Daryl personality. This one feels like a Daryl personality. So, I'm very happy with this. And, I was kind of back and forth, like, do I really need another cat deck? I don't know. But then there was a really cool cat bandana of cat art of these. And I found out, like, the company is a feminist company, and there's all of these things that kind of added up to me thinking that this is just fabulous. So, Into the Void, the Black Cat Tarot, I just got. It came like 2 days ago, so I don't have anything to say about it as a kind of reader, but I'm excited. Okay. The other two decks that I work with the most this month, I didn't bring down to show you since I know that I've, shown them before, and I know like plenty of people have seen them in plenty of places. I worked a lot with the Wisdom of the Kaliak Oracle. I mentioned in my December video that I had read a book about the Kaliak, not just the guidebook, but another book as well. And so I've been kind of ongoingly working with that Oracle deck, and also the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot, which I missed as an indie deck. Bought it as a mass market deck. Don't feel like I've missed out on anything at all because it's beautiful. And I found Fyodor Pavlov to be quite an emotional deck to work with as well, in ways that I didn't expect. It's much more Smith-Waite than the decks that I've been gravitating towards typically lately, but it's so beautiful, and I really like the guidebook and the way that the creator talks about representation and talks about queer life, and it's very, very first person, and it's not generalizing at all, and I really like that, and I've had great readings with it. So that has been another one, and Earth Mother Magic as well, which I have shown too. So that's the decks of the month. In terms of where I'm at with tarot kind of study and exploration, I'll also just mention, since it'll probably come into future videos more, that I've decided to do a year in the Wildwood this year. And for folks who are not familiar with this, it's obviously associated with the Wildwood Tarot, and it looks at the different cards as they are in the Wildwood Tarot, associated with the Wheel of the Year. And so it goes through the year, and it goes kind of card by card, and the cards have different meditation prompts, which could also be journal questions, little kind of questions to ask yourself about this card or things this card might remind you of. It's a fairly short book, self-published, and in this one, the year starts with Imbolc on February 1st. So I will be journaling through the Wildwood for the year. The Wildwood is a deck that I wasn't sure if I would love. It has keywords, which I'm not into, but it's also, it's really not a Smith-Waite deck. It's really its own thing. So I can be accepting of the keywords, since it's doing something quite particular, I think. And I've come to really like it, and I feel it like a druid deck, even though it's not kind of explicitly designed or kind of marketed or conceived of that way by the people who created it. I think of it very much as a druidic deck. So I'm enjoying this, and I also have there's a supplemental book, Wild Magic, the Wildwood Tarot Workbook, which I will say is not a workbook at all. It's a book. It's a book that you read, obviously, but like it's not. It makes it sound like it's like you're gonna fill it in or something. That's not what this is. But I'm going to kind of work with these in tandem with each other, mostly following the schedule of this one. But then where this one has card entries, I'll read it in the order that we go with A Year in the Wildwood. So that's my plans there, starting in February. So I'm sure I'll mention in my kind of general updates something about how that's going. So there's that. So I wanted to share, my goodness, this video is going to be pretty short without the books. Short for me anyway. I wanted to share a peek at my page a day book, and a peek at my decks to explore, decks I might be interested in / wish list in my other planner, just since I showed these mostly empty when I did my journal video. So I have been doing a card of the day-ish. And I've mentioned before that I'm good at the daily-ish draw more than the daily draw. And I've oscillated between trying to do daily draw and not. And I've decided to just embrace daily-ish as the thing that works for me. So for most of the days I've been writing down cards that I've drawn. Other times I've written down kind of a theme of a larger spread that I did, or something else, going on. So for February, I wrote down Into the Wildwood, beginning on the first day there. So keeping track of my cards. I already showed my my white pine artwork there. I've just been having fun playing in this page a day book. I've written down quite a few book quotes. These ones are from the 20 Days of Turin by Giorgio Di Maria, which I'll talk about in my book video. Here I did some coloring around a sticker, playing with pencil crayons. I commemorated the day that I got my booster shot. I tested some Tombow pens, I'm going pretty relaxed with this. I made a full moon spread, so I wrote that in. I drew my mantle. sitting on my sofa and just drew the snake plants that I have on my mantle. There's also a lot more stuff on there, but I wrote down recipes from the Vegan Chinese Kitchen, which I'll talk about in my book video. Just writing down different things in this book, which has been fun. I've been doing some readathon planning in here on these 2 days. I'm going to do Blackathon, the Black History Month readathon, for the third or fourth time now for February. So I have my full TBR for that, which I'm very excited about, and I'm already halfway through my first book. It's not a very long book. I'm excited. I'm also aspiring to do Historathon, which is a historical non-fiction readathon. Mariana Moss has a video explaining this, but basically the year is divided into 4 3-month chunks. And so January to March, you read something about prehistory to 500. April to June, you read something about 500 to 1500 CE, and then 1500 to 1820 CE, and then 1820 CE to present, you would read in October to December. So I'm still picking what those books are going to be. I know that my prehistory book is going to be the new David Graeber and David Wengrow book, because I have that. It's a little bit more about how we talk about prehistory than about prehistory itself, I think, but I'm counting it. It's nonfiction. So, wrote down some things from the EME Oracle in here. I wrote down a little bit of quotes about white pine, my tree. And you can see there's a couple of blank pages that I'm going to go back and do. I'm good at daily-ish. I'm not so good at daily, but there you go. That's how that manifests. Now I pulled out my planner out of my traveler's notebook because I wanted to share, as a last thing to share in this updates, where my to explore / wish list is at. And I mentioned in my planner video that what I would be doing with this is kind of writing down decks that I'm interested in. Not necessarily that I'm definitely going to buy, but that I'm definitely interested in and interested in looking into further, curious about, want to watch a walkthrough for sure, pique my interest in some way. And, it's a little bit like a wish list, but also I imagine that quite a few things will end up kind of crossed off and not purchased, right? Because something might obviously, catch your attention, and then you look further and further and you decide for whatever reason that's not for you, right? So that is what has been happening in this list. I have filled in the first 6 spaces of my exploration list there. And of the 6 decks that I wrote down, I bought 2. That was, that's something, 2 out of 6. Good percentage so far. I crossed one off that I was interested in and then came to the conclusion that I probably, am not going to add to my collection. And then there are 3 still written down that are neither purchased nor crossed out. 2 of them I know that I will get at some point. I feel like I'll get at some point because I'm really into. And one of them I'm kind of like deciding about. So I thought that I would share where I'm at with those. Okay. And I'll just read you the 6 and where I'm at. And I'll pick up at spot number 7, presuming I've added anything in my next monthly recap. I don't know if this is interesting or not. I'm always interested in how people's thought processes about these things. So number 1 on my to explore / wish list is The Signs of the Times Oracle by Crystal Banner. This I really like, and I would really love to add to my collection. It's also a mass market deck, and so I know that I can get it, fairly easily, affordably, at any time. There's no sense of urgency around it. There's no hurry. So I feel like when it's, time that I want to work with it in a dedicated way, and I'm not working, really focused on working with something else, then Signs of the Times Oracle by Crystal Banner will end up checked off this list. The next one on this list was the Between the Worlds by Monica Baderski. And this is the one that I crossed off, actually, and decided that I don't think is for me. I watched a walkthrough of this deck, I want to say, by Kelly Bear. And someone in the comments said something about, oh, this could be an alternative to the Memento Mori Oracle. And I have the Memento Mori Oracle, and that comment combined with the walkthrough led me to the conclusion that I do not need Between the Worlds. I think it's a good deck. Me crossing it off my list is not any indication that I don't think it's a good deck. I just don't know that I would actually work with it all that much, based on having some other things in my collection already that I really like, that are definitely not the same, but would be something that I would reach for similar purposes. So that's why that one got crossed off. The third one on the list was the Into the Void, the Black Cat Tarot, which I bought. The fourth one on the list is one that I know that I will buy, and that is One with the Earth Oracle by Kim at Abundant Life Tarot. And this is one that I've had on my wish list for a while. I know that I would like to add it to my collection. Basically with this one, I'm waiting till I do my next Make Playing Cards order so that I can combine shipping. Because I know at some point I'll order from Make Playing Cards, maybe even a couple copies of my own deck, or, whatever it is, that's probably what it will be. I like to have some of my own deck because I'm giving them to friends and things. So when I order from Make Playing Cards, I'm sure that I will check off the One with the Earth Oracle deck. And number 5 was Tarot Ultraviolet Tarot, and I backed it on Kickstarter. So this is a French tarot deck by a Quebecois creator, and it is very colorful deck, queer feminist tarot deck. And this is another Katu Tarot YouTube channel made me do it. She made me do it with this one, brought my attention to this deck when she had the creator on her channel for a kind of interview and discussion. And Tarot Ultraviolet, same thing. Katu had the creator of this deck on YouTube as well and had a conversation, and I ended up back the deck on Kickstarter. So that's that's how that happened. That was a fairly, I basically wrote that one down on the list and then immediately checked it off, because when I found it, the Kickstarter had 3 days left. I took one look at it and was like, yep, this is something that I need in my life, and I backed it. And number 6, which is not something that I've bought but is still on the list, it hasn't been crossed off either, is the Flow Tarot. This is one that's on Etsy. The Flow Tarot is very much my style in that it is nature photography based. It's particularly water-based deck. Really beautiful. Definitely interested in it. Where I'm on the fence with it though is it has keywords or key phrases, we'll say titles almost, such that I'm not sure if it would read more like an oracle for me than a tarot. Does that impact whether I would like to work with it or not? Not sure. It's something to consider. The other thing is that the way that they have done the suit associations, which are different aspects of water, so I think there's like waves, clouds, ponds, and ice and snow or something like that. It's something like that for the suits. And on first glance, the suit associations are very counterintuitive to me. Like, they are not how I would have matched up those 4 things with the 4 elements at all. So I'm not sure if between that and the keywords, if it's going to be one that I end up crossing off, or if it's one that I end up totally swayed by the beautiful artwork and decide to add to my collection. So that's where that list is. That's my January recap. Coming in at 34 minutes, not bad. Just because I didn't talk about books. So I hope that everybody's had a great January. I am looking forward to February very much so. And so I'm going to have quite a bit of vacation time in February, I will say. I ended up, I didn't mention this part when I was talking about vacation time and general updates. I ended up in a position where I had kind of a use them or lose them situation with my vacation days because I didn't take any, basically since I started the job in May, which meant I had to use up a bunch of vacation days before the end of March, which is the end of the fiscal year. So I have quite a few days off this month and quite a few days off in March with basically zero plans of what to do with them. And I'm really happy about that because I feel like I'm going to have some time to make videos. I feel like I'm going to have some time to go out and make, some tree content with the camera. I feel like there's going to be some tarot study time in there. Very excited. So I wish you all a happy end of January. Hope you're all well, and I'll see you all soon in part 2 of the recap talking about books.